Hi, Matt with eTrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the Aries AscentSteps running boards on our 2024 Dodge Durango. Now this is going to be great if you're someone who's just looking for a cleaner finish to your vehicle overall. You want something that's just going to be easier to live with and work with, especially if you ever do need to get on top of your roof. Now running boards are great for a lot of reasons. One, like I said, they just kind of give you more of a clean or rugged look to your vehicle. And two, it's just going to help you out with getting inside your vehicle. Like, if you look right here, for me, that's not too much of a step, but if you just need a little more assistance, this is going to help you out with that process. But a big reason this is great too is gaining access to your roof. Because this already has the built-on roof rack, so if you are someone who is pretty outdoorsy, you like to carry a lot of accessories, but you can't fit everything in here, then getting access to your roof is going to be more manageable with these. But what I specifically like about these running boards are that we're going to have this nice tread on top, and this is going to be more centered on where you're entering your vehicle. With this, you're going to have this more rubberized tread, so that's going to give you a little bit more traction when your foot is stepping on here, so it's going to be less likely of sliding off, like in a section like this. And your passengers are going to have some assistance too with getting in the back, because there's going to be two sections of this, and this is extra long. As you can see, when I open up my door, this kind of fits perfectly right here. Especially great for if you have any little ones around that kind of struggle up getting in here. That's just going to help them get in place, and they're going to be less likely of scratching up anything on the outside of your vehicle. But let's talk about view measurements. So when you are living with this on a daily basis, we want to make sure you have enough room to place your foot here. The space of, or the width of this, is going to be around 5.5 inches. But depending on where you place this, I have mine in the furthest out position from your vehicle where your foot can really sit. That's going to sit about 7 inches. So that should be enough room for most people. As you can see, I can get the ball of my foot on here. So that's going to be great for getting a lot more stability. And if I open up our door, we can kind of see how this is going to affect the height of our step. Like I said earlier, this is a pretty high step for some people. That's going to be roughly around 22 inches, give or take. But the height of this is going to be currently a little bit over about 10.5 inches, which is perfect because that's going to pretty much cut this step in half. So that's going to be saving you a lot of time and effort. And for the construction of this is going to be made of steel, so it's going to be very durable. On top of that, it's going to have this black powder coat finish to it. That finish is just going to help it last longer because if you are driving around outside, you're going to experience a lot of road salts, water, snow, ice, and this is just going to make it stand up to the test of time. Now, in my opinion, I think this is a pretty solid choice when it comes to running boards. Me personally, I like the look of this one compared to other ones more, just because it's more of a clean finish and we have that rubber tread on top, which will give you a little more traction. Now, if you want something that looks a little bit more rugged, Aries has another option, and that's going to be the ridge steps. Those are great because instead of having any type of rubber on top or with this more rounded design, it's going to have more of a type of sharp tracks on it. So when you do step on here, you're going to have a good step to it, and it just kind of makes it look a bit more appealing to anyone who is looking for that real rough, rugged look. But it just really depends on what your preference is. Now, when it comes to the installation, they're all going to be the same. The biggest thing to watch out for with this is it's going to be a little bit of a tight fit underneath your vehicle. So if you do need to, you can actually jack it up so you have a little more space to work with, but it's not completely necessary. Today, we're not going to be jacking up our vehicle just to show that it still can be done. To start off the installation, I like to lay everything out. So right in front of me, we are going to have all the hardware that's necessary for this. I just like to lay this out just to make sure we have everything, nothing's missing or damaged. And then we're going to have our brackets too. You're going to have two sets of these. This is only one set we have right here, but they're all going to have specific points that go in your vehicle. Right here, we're going to have our rear one. Next to that, we're going to have our center one. And in front of that, we're going to have the front one. The way you can tell which one's which, there's going to be an indicator on them. It's going to be a little letter, just like that. It's going to be labeled F, C, and R for which location they go. Then we're going to come over here to our vehicle now, and we're just going to start prepping. And what we need to do is remove some adhesive tabs underneath our vehicle because they're going to be covering up some holes we're going to be using. Now there will be a few under here. You will have some spots marked in your instructions. It's kind of vague. It's roughly going to be placed like this. Now yours might be a little bit different. The best way I find to really figure out how I'm going to do this is I'm going to go to the frontmost hole. I'm going to remove that tab, and then there's going to be a series of them underneath. And I'm just going to go with every other tab. So there should be a tab here you remove, leave one, leave one, and then remove one. Now I'm going to show you how to take off one of these tabs. They might be a little bit different for you, but with this series, this is going to be a very thin tab, and I find it's best just to get a flathead screwdriver and stab into the center of it. Just like that. Once it's in the center, then I'm just going to apply force to the side. This should kind of pop out. Just like that. And then you repeat that process on the other two. And now we're going to grab this little bolt. It's going to be welded onto a plate. And what you're going to do is, where you remove those little plastic tabs or there's adhesive tabs, you're going to place it right there. With that in place, I'm going to take my little plastic retaining clip and slide it on. It's going to be a little bit tricky to do. I'm going to block the camera just for a second. There we go. And it's going to hold in place just like this. This is going to prevent this from pushing through when you put your brackets on. When this is done, then you're going to repeat this process on the other two holes. When you're putting your brackets on, they're all going to go in the same way. So you're going to line up that bolt with that hole on top of your bracket just right there. Right now I'm working on the center one. With the other ones, like your rear and front, you're going to have a tab that wraps around the back right here. Starting off with a flat washer, a split washer, and then I'm going to put on my bolt or my nut. Once you have it on there, you'll just kind of keep threading it. Eventually you're going to reach a point where you're going to get a little bit of resistance. That's going to be a good time to stop. Now if you feel like it's just kind of sliding around and it's not going to tighten up, at least a little bit, what you can do is just pull down as you're tightening that nut so that plate doesn't spin around on you. And now I can move over to the other brackets. And for this next part, this is going to be kind of hard to see underneath our vehicle, so I'm going to show you the hardware now. We're going to have our M6 hardware. So that's going to consist of this bolt. You're going to have two flat washers on here. One is going to go on first, and then the next one will go on with your split washer, and then your nut. And I'm going to show you that a little bit more in depth now. Now we're going to start using that hardware. So I'm going over to my brackets again, and you're going to find that on your vehicle you have this little hole here. That hole is going to line up with a hole on the side of this bracket. I've already lined mine up, but if yours isn't lined up, you can just simply push it back and forth until it is. That's why you want to leave this a little bit loose when you're starting off with. As you can see, I only have one washer on my bolt at the time being, and I'm going to push this through the other side. Just like that. The reason I do it this way is because it's going to be a little bit easier to put my nut into place from the side. Now I'm going to put on my washer and lock nut. We're going to move back over to our bracket now, and you're going to find that you have this hole on your vehicle. It's going to be underneath. This hole should be lined up with the hole on your bracket. If it's not, you can just simply push this over to the side either which way until it is. That's why we didn't tighten this down all the way. Now I'm going to show you our M6 hardware again. I only have that one washer on it right now because one is going to go on one side of the bracket. I'll try to push that through. With that through, I'm going to put that other washer and that split washer on. Put it on just like that. I'm going to grab our nut and thread that on. Again, we're only going to do this hand tight. There's going to be 2 of these that go on each one of your brackets. And once you're done with that, you repeat that process for the other 2 brackets. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to grab our running boards now and place them next to our vehicle because we want to make sure it's in the right orientation. So you want to make sure that you can read Aries right side up, just like this. And we're just going to flip it around. And we can start installing our mounting plates. So you're going to have 3 per side. And the way this is going to go in is we come over here. You notice we have these bars on either side. This is going to go in an angle, rotate, and seat into place just like this. Once you have one in, we'll just install the other ones. And what we're doing here is kind of just roughly placing them in here, lining them up to this. Now if you have one that doesn't want to go in, because I'm finding a lot of resistance, what I'll do is just find another spot and then just slide it over into place. And with them all on, I'm just going to lift up on this, flip it around, and set it on top of my brackets. Just like that. To fully install this, we're going to use our M8 hardware. So it's going to be larger bolts. And we're going to use a split washer and then a flat washer on top of that. And you're going to use 2 of these per bracket. The way we're going to do this is we're just going to screw these bolts into that mounting plate, just like this. When we're first doing this, we're just going to loosely install them so we could make our adjustments later on. I'm going to show you what it's actually going to look like. Here it is now. We're going to have this channel right in our bracket, and we just want to line that up with our plate. Then I'm going to push this bolt through until it lines up completely. There we go. And we'll just thread it on. I'm just going to get a couple threads on there because I'm going to put my next one on too. What I'll do sometimes is stick the bolt through to try to grab that hole on that plate. If I can't, I'll just kind of push the plate a little bit until it is lined up. With this in place, we're going to just adjust it now. We want to try to get this as centered as possible, so just think about this when you're trying to use this on a daily basis, where you might want this to sit. Well, you can just slide this back and forth. Sometimes if you tighten it a little bit too much, it might not shift as much as you want, so just kind of loosen those bolts a little bit. Just like that. There we go. You can even pull it in and out some. Just find the right spot for you. And this is looking pretty centered on my vehicle. And from here, we're just going to tighten up all that hardware. First, we're going to start with our brackets, and then we'll move over to the running board itself. Something I found too is it's kind of hard to get some sockets in here, even if you have the extended ones. So what you could do is even grab a wrench and tighten it up that way. You just gotta use this in just small increments. It might take a little bit, but that's only if your sockets won't fit in here. And it's also going to be pretty tight by our 10mm hardware. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to use our socket and wrench on one side and just a 10mm wrench on the other side. And this way I can actually get the space that I need to tighten these in place. And you just repeat this process for the rest of them. And when you go to tighten down the running board completely, you'll find that you're going to need a 13mm socket and wrench to do that. Again, there's probably going to be a couple tight spots to get into, so in those cases, I recommend just using a wrench. But when it's all in place, then we can just kind of test it out, make sure it feels pretty sturdy. And if it does, you can take it out for a ride. But that's just a look at the Aries running board on our 2024 Dodge Durango. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.